Alrighty, welcome back to part 2 of this Silver Bayonet solo campaign. Today's scenario is called The Ruined Chapel. So we have the Ruined Chapel in the center with 4 objective markers on each corner, or clue markers I should say, near the chapel, and then 6 gravestones surrounding the chapel with revenants right next to them. And the goal is to investigate the chapel with my crew. So, with that, I'll introduce the group, and then we'll get to the scenario. Alright, so everybody made it out alive from last scenario, as we have Lieutenant Cunningham with his pistol, fencing weapon, cold iron shot, and holy symbol upgrade. And then we have the heavy cavalryman who got taken out last scenario, but he managed to only get a flesh wound. He is a heavy cavalry. And then we have Sergeant Stark here, who definitely carried the team last scenario, fighting off the werewolves and making it off just in time. And then we got Hunts with Wolves, who took out some wolves himself last scenario. And then we got the 3 privates in the back that managed to capture some clues, and actually one of them took out the werewolf last scenario. So they all got some experience, and with that we'll go on to the start of the scenario. The Ruined Chapel. Having escaped the wolves, you press on deeper into the forest, relying on a compass and a crude map to bring you to the lost chapel. As another day passed, the forest slowly grew denser, with the canopies of the ancient gnarled trees merging together until they blocked out nearly all natural light. Finally, through the timbrous shadows, you spy the ruins of a small stone building, surrounded on every side by broken, tilted, and overgrown gravestones. According to your orders, you are to search the chapel and recover any items of interest. However, just as you are about to advance, you see figures shuffling around in the graveyard. Alrighty, starting off the scenario, I'm going to activate Hendrickson. So, he's going to move 8 inches, and then take a shot with his pistol at the Revenant here. So, -1 for moving, that is a 9, that'll definitely miss. And then he will be unloaded. Next up, we'll activate this trooper here, this private. He's gonna move, actually. He's gonna take a shot with his rifle, or his musket, at that Revenant there. That'll be a 16 to hit, which will definitely do it. Let me check here. Revenant, defense 12, reduction 4 against projectile weapons. So, takes 2 damage. Alright. And then he'll just use his full movement to get into base contact, and then that'll give him a free action to swing with his bayonet. And then that is 11, which will not be enough. And then the Revenant will swing back. Let me double check these stats. Alright, so he does have a +1 to melee, which brings it to a 12, which does wound the Revenant, and resulting in 4 damage, bringing it to 4 health, and then it will take a strike back. And oof, that is a 14, which will definitely wound him. Defense 13, so he takes 7 damage, leaving him only with 3 for the private, and then he'll take a step back. Alright, and then my last activation before the monster phase will be Sergeant Stark over there. He's just going to take a shot at that Revenant there with his rifle. This will be a skilled shot. And that is, oof. Do I already spend my power dice to reroll? I'm not going to. So, and then he will, yeah, he's gonna move 6 inches towards that Revenant. And then that'll be their actions, and then we move on to monster phase. Alright, monster phase. This Revenant moves towards Sergeant Stark. The Revenant over here moves towards these two. And then this Revenant makes its move on Lieutenant Cunningham and a private. And then these two converge on this private. And that one goes for Hendrickson. So, we'll start with this one. Revenant take a swing at private. That is a 10, which will not do it. It is a melee +1 for 11. Does not strike. And then the private is going to take a swing back with his bayonet. And that is an 8. +1 is a 9. Also a miss. So they'll take a step back an inch. And then we got this one taking a swing on Hendrickson. And that is a 4, which will also miss. And Hendrickson will take a swing back. And, ooh, that's a good one. So that is 13. And then Hendrickson's got a +2 for melee. So that'll definitely wound the Revenant, taking 7 damage from the power die, bringing it to 3 left on this Revenant. And then they'll take a step back. And that will end the monster phase, and we'll go on to the rest of phase, or the rest of the actions for the rest of the group. Alright, we'll start over here with the private. He's going to take a shot with his musket. And that is a 13 +1 for 14, which will definitely hit, dealing 9 damage to that Revenant, reduced by 4, so it'll take 5 damage, leaving it with 5 left. And then the private is just going to move towards that clue marker right there. And then Lieutenant Cunningham, he's going to take a shot with his pistol at that Revenant as well. For an 11. And then he's got a +1 for accuracy for 12, which will do it. And then that is reduced down to 2 damage, leaving it with 3. And then he's going to go in for a melee swing as well as a second action. He takes a shot with his pistol, seeing it doesn't do nearly enough damage, he goes in for the kill with the saber. This is a skill die, and that is 10 plus 2 for melee, which will bring it to 12, which will do it. Only dealing 2 damage though with the saber, leaving the Revenant on 1 wound left. And then the Revenant will strike back. And that is a 12. But Lieutenant Cunningham has a defense of 14. So he manages to duck out of the way of the swing of the Revenant. And that'll leave off that. And then we'll move on over here. Hunts with wolves. He's going to take a shot with his musket at that Revenant. Missing completely. And then he'll just go in for a swing attack with his bayonet for his second action, which will, that is a 16, that'll do it. And that is 10 damage. So he takes a shot with his musket, completely missing, and then charges with it with his bayonet, striking it in the dome, taking out this Revenant for the first kill. Alright, and then leave him unloaded. And then this guy, he's gonna run or move, and then he's gonna sprint for another 4 inches. Nice. We'll have him go over here to go inside the chapel. Alright, and then that's everybody's activations, and we'll go on to the next turn. Alright, at the end of round 1, a new Revenant appeared at this gravestone, and then a vampire lurks out of the shadows in this corner looking at Hendrickson. So, we're going to start off activating half my units, and we're going to do Sergeant Stark. Since there's a vampire in the area, he's going to reload and then make a movement towards the vampire. Since he has a silver weapon, he can take it on or die trying. Alright, and then that's him. Next up, we'll do Hendrickson. He's going to go in with his first action, try and take out that Revenant. And that is an 8, 9, 10. That is a miss. Revenant will strike back for a 9, also a miss, as they struggle to fight. Alright, and then lastly, we'll do, who's in the most danger here? You know what, we'll do Lieutenant Cunningham. He's gonna try and take out this Revenant. So he's just gonna, he's gonna reload, and then take a shot with his pistol. That is a 9 plus 2, or no, plus 1, also a miss. Dang. Alright. And then because he didn't move, he just reloads again. And that is the end of my first activation. So we go on to the Revenant phase, or monster phase. Alright, the Revenants moved in, and we got several combats going on first. So we'll start with Lieutenant Cunningham. Revenant goes in on him. Oof, for a 13 plus 1 for 14, which is just enough to wound Lieutenant Cunningham for 10 damage. He's only got 12, so he's got 2 left. As Lieutenant Cunningham takes a huge hit from this Revenant. And then he's going to attempt to swing back. And nope. Definitely doesn't get a hit. And then they'll take a step back. As Lieutenant Cunningham gets pushed back by this Revenant, still standing after taking a huge hit from last phase. Alright, then we move on to over here. This Revenant's going to take a chunk out of the private for 13, 14. That'll do it, as this private takes 9 damage, leaving him on 1 wound. Let's see if he can take a swing back. He can. That is a 16, 17 for 6 damage. The Revenant is on, let's see, health 10, so he's got 4 left. This Revenant's got 4 left. And they'll take step backs, and then they both get fatigue, including these guys. Alright, some more counters for these guys. Alright, and then we move on over here, where these two continue to close in on a private. This Revenant's going to take a swing at him. Oh man, and the private gets taken out, overwhelmed by the Revenants, as we lose our first man. It's not looking good for this crew. Alright, and then this Revenant's going to take a swing on Hendrickson. It's got a -1 for fatigue. And that'll be an 11, 12, back down to 11, which is not enough to wound Hendrickson with his heavy armor. And then Hendrickson's going to take a swing back. And no, definitely doesn't get hit. And then they're going to take back. Hendrickson goes to 2 fatigue. And then the vampire moved towards Sergeant Stark, along with that one, chasing them down. And that is the end of the monster phase, as we'll move on to the rest of my activations. Alrighty, we're going to start with this private here. He's wounded and not looking to get in a scrap with these guys. So he's going to reload. And then he's just going to move towards the chapel, bringing him to the stairs of the chapel. Alright, and then Lieutenant Cunningham already activated. So it's just Hunts with Wolves. Seeing Lieutenant Cunningham in trouble, he's going to reload and then take a shot. Oh yeah, that'll do it. So that's 14 plus 1 for a 15, and I would say you get light cover, but that will not be enough. That's 6 damage reduced by 4, which is enough to take out the Revenant. As Hunts with Wolves takes some pressure off Lieutenant Cunningham. Alright, and then because he didn't move, he reloads again for free. And then, you know what, private here, instead of moving towards the clue marker, he's going to take a shot at this Revenant to try and save Lieutenant Cunningham as well. That is, so that's 11 plus 1 for his accuracy, which is 12, which is enough. 9 damage reduced by 4 is enough to take out this Revenant. As Lieutenant Cunningham's loyal soldiers save his back. Alright. And then with the rest of his movement, he's just going to move into the chapel next to that clue marker there. Alrighty, and then that's everybody's activations, which will be the end of the round, and we'll go to round 3. Alright, start of round 3, a new Revenant appears over here in this, next to that gravestone, and then I get to activate half my units, so we'll start with Hendrickson. He's going to reload, and then he's going to go in for the swing attack, and that'll do it. For 6 damage, he finally manages to run down that Revenant, and then that's the end of his turn. And then Sergeant Stark, seeing the vampire goes charging in like a madman, as he's the only defense against the vampire. So, he's a +2 to melee. That's, oh man, that is definitely a miss. But do I spend a power die to re-roll or a skill die to re-roll? Would it be worth it? Let's see, what's the defense of a vampire? Defense 15. Nope, not going to re-roll. Alright, so it goes in and the vampire easily. Actually, he needed to make a courage test before he could swing. Anyways, let's see if he... Yeah, he would have failed that. Alright, vampire's going to take a swing back then. Oh, man. Yep, that'll do it for 10 damage on Sergeant Stark. He's got 12 health. Vampire is strong for an additional damage. Sergeant Stark is on 1 health. As he goes in to swing on the vampire, he gets hypnotized by the look in the vampire's eyes, and the vampire slashes him with his claws. As it's definitely not looking good for these guys. Alright, so with that, I'm going to have this private take a shot with his musket outside the chapel into that revenant with his musket for a 15 for the +1, and then 5 damage to the revenant. Leaving it on 5 left. And then for his second action, he's going to make a check on this clue. Let's see, what do I need? That's a... I think I need a check of... What kind of check do I need to make? I need a check of 8, which is just enough. So, let's see what we find. The Ace of Spades. And that is Strange Candelabra. The investigating figure may pick up the candelabra without spending an action. If this figure is reduced to 0 health, it drops the candelabra where it falls. Mark the spot on the table. Any other unit member may pick up the candelabra simply by adding a move action and adjacent to it. While carrying the candelabra, all the figure's attacks count as blessed. So this private is now blessed with a relic. Alright, good start, but I don't think that's what we're looking for. Alright, and then that is half my units, so we move on to the monster phase. Alright, Revenant over here closes in on that private with the candelabra. And then these 3 Revenants close in on Hendrickson on his horse. And the only combat is the vampire striking at Sergeant Stark. And that is a 6. And even with a +2 bonus for melee, will not be enough. Let me double check. That is +3 in melee. So, but that's still not enough. And then Sergeant Stark's going to take a swing back. Oh, he's going to make his check first, which is enough. And now he's going to take a swing. And that is 13 +2 for melee, so 15, which is enough. And that'll be 4 damage with the skill with the saber, leaving the vampire on 10 health. Alright. And then... oh no. I forgot. He has a fatigue, which would not be enough. Alright, which then, in that case, he's going to spend his skill die. And that'll then be enough. And then, now this vampire takes 9. For leaving him with 5 wounds remaining. And then they'll take step backs. And then that will be everything for the monster phase. And I'll activate my other half of units. So, who do we got first? We activated these 3. Okay. So, this private's going to move up to this clue marker. And he's going to make a check to look at it, which he fails, needing an 8. Alright, and then hunts with wolves, he's just going to move 6 inches, and then sprint. Nope, just getting 2 inches. Alright. And then Lieutenant Cunningham, he's going to sprint, or he's going to run as well, and sprint, which will do it, getting him into base contact with this clue marker. And then that is everybody activated as we go on to round 4. Alright. Start of round 4, a new Revenant appears at this gravestone, as they all seem to be converging on Hendrickson. So, I'm going to activate half my units, and so Hendrickson, he's going to take a shot with his pistol. We're going to shoot this guy for, oh yeah, that is an 18 plus 1, dealing 9 damage to the Revenant, leaving it on 1 wound. And then he's going to run. Where does he run to? He's going to run this way to try to avoid as many Revenants as possible for a second action. Alright, and then next up we'll do this private here. So first he's going to try to check this clue for a 6, which is still not enough. And then for a second action he's just going to take a shot at that Revenant over there, try and finish it off, which he does, reducing one of the Revenants that are now on Stark's course. Alright, and then we'll activate Sergeant Stark, which he's going to just go in. Move in for a strike on the vampire. So let's do a check, which he fails. He is hypnotized. And the vampire takes a swing back. That is a 7. Plus 3 is a 10. Still not enough. He's got defense 14, so he manages to snap out of his hypnotized state just in time to block a blow from the vampire. Actually, I forgot I need to do a soul shear. He got hit for a soul shear, so he needs to make a terror check. Forgot all about that. Which, that'll definitely pass. Let me double check. Yeah, he's unfazed. Alright, cool. Alright, and that's half of my units. So we move on to the Revenant phase. Alright, started the monster phase. We got a couple fighting actions. So this Revenant's going to take a swing on Hendrickson here. This one didn't quite make it into base contact. So, taking a swing. Oof. That'll be a 16, 17. That is enough for 9 damage on Hendrickson, leaving him on 3 health left. And then Hendrickson's going to take a swing back. Which is enough for 8 damage, leaving that Revenant on 2. And then they'll both take a step back, leaving them both with 1 fatigue. And next up, we got this Revenant that moves into the chapel to swing on the private with the candelabra. And that is an 8 plus 1, 9, not enough. Private takes a swing back with his bayonet. And that is an 11 plus 1 for 12, which is enough, dealing 2 damage to this Revenant, bringing it down to 3 health left. And then we move on to the vampire, taking a swing on Sergeant Stark. Let's see if he can hold off. 8, 9, 10, 11. Nope. Vampire misses his swing on Sergeant Stark, who takes a, well, a courage test, which will pass. How much courage has he got? He's got 0 courage, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. Let's see. Let me double check. See if yep. He needed 12 and he got it. So now he's gonna take a swing. Ooh, and that is a massive 19 to hit for 10 damage with the saber, completely taking out the vampire. So as the vampire takes a swing on Sergeant Stark, slashing, he blocks with his rifle, takes his saber out, and cuts the vampire's head clean off, winning that fight as he now adds Vampire Slayer to his roster. And then that will end the monster phase, as I'll now activate the rest of my units. So we'll start off with Lieutenant Cunningham. He's going to try to get that clue marker. So that is 10, which is enough. So let's see what he finds. Jack of Spades, which is, let me double check here. Small icon, add 1 power die to your fate pool. I'll take that. Bring me to 2 power die. Alright. And then Hunts with Wolves, he's just going to, he's going to move, let's see, there's just 1 more clue marker to check. So he's going to move this way towards the chapel, getting an angle on this Revenant, which he'll take a shot with his musket. And as a 19, that'll do it, taking out this Revenant as he blows a hole through the back of its skull, leaving him unloaded. And then, let's see. And then this private, he's just going to, yeah, with that, freeing him up, he's going to use his movement to get to this last, no, not the last clue marker, but one of the last clue markers. He's going to get to that clue marker and investigate it. Needing an 8, that is enough, as he discovers the King of Spades, which is a bag of silver shot. So now his shots are silver, which he can help out against any vampires that may appear. And then that is the last of my units as we move on to round 5. Alright, start of round 5, a new revenant appears by this gravestone, as they all seem to be attracted to the horse of Hendrickson. So, with that, we'll start off with activating half my units. So, we'll do Hendrickson. I think, yeah. He's just going to make his way off the board. Sprint check. That'll do it, as he takes off the board, doing his part to distract the revenants. And then, let's see, take these fatigue markers off. We'll activate. Yeah, we'll activate Sergeant Stark. He's going to turn around, shoot with his rifle for an 8, 9, 10. Not enough, as he misses. And then he's just going to go in for the swing. Also a miss. Revenant will strike back, getting a 14 with a +1, which is enough, taking out Sergeant Stark. So with that, we get our second casualty, as Sergeant Stark, weakened from the battle with the vampire, gets taken out by a revenant, leaving me with one more activation. We'll do this private here. He's going to reload his musket and take a shot at this revenant. That is a 11 +1 for 12, which is enough, only dealing 1 damage to the revenant, leaving it on 1 wound left. And then, because he didn't move, he reloads, and that's half my units. Moving on to the monster phase. Alright, with Hendrickson gone, this revenant moves towards this private up on the chapel stairs, and then these two get within striking range of this private. So we'll start off with that one. That is a 10 +1 for melee, +1 for being flanked, which is 12, which is enough, dealing 7 damage to the private, leaving him on 3 wounds remaining. And then the private will take a swing back with an 8, not enough. And then they'll take a step back. And then I'm going to say he still gets the strike for a, that'll be enough. That's 13 +1, 14. As this private gets taken out by a revenant as well, as we take our 3rd casualty. Alright, and then that ends the monster phase. So, I'll activate the rest of my units, and we'll just start off with the private, trying to get that last clue marker. And that'll do it. He passes his check. And let's see what we got. The Queen of Spades, which is a silver knife. Treat all the investigating figures' melee attacks as a silver for the rest of the scenario. Alright. So, and then that is the last of the clue markers. I didn't get anything too nice, except for the candelabra. I don't know if I get to keep that. So, with that, we move on to Lieutenant Cunningham. Seeing all the clue markers grabbed up, he's going to make his way off the board, which he will sprint, making it 4 inches, which will be enough to get off the board. And then Hunts with Wolves. He's going to make his way off the board. It's like a climbing test. I believe that fails. So just leave him there. He'll sprint, getting 2 inches. Alright, and that leaves just 2 more men on the table as we go to round 5 as another vampire appears in a table quarter. Let's see where it happens. So it'll be in that table quarter. So we go into round 5. Alright, start of round 5. A new vampire arrives on this corner here. And then I realized that with this private getting taken out, I dropped the candelabra, which is a pretty nice relic I really want. So I need to secure it before exiting off the table. So this private, he's going to run up here and then sprint, jump, just getting 2 inches. So he jumps off there, securing the candelabra. And then Hunts with Wolves, he's going to reload. And then I think he's just in range. 12 inches. Nope, he's just out of range. So he's going to make his way back to try and back up the private, who is only on 1 health. Not looking good. Alright. Actually, no he doesn't. He moves over here because it's only going to activate half my units. So, we'll go with this Revenant, taking a swing on the private. Misses. And then the private's going to take a swing back for a 11-12, which is enough. Taking out the Revenant here. Giving him a little bit of help. And then giving him 1 fatigue as this Revenant goes in. Takes a chunk out of him. 13. That's 11. Plus 1 is 12. That is enough to take out this private as he drops the candelabra again. And then I will activate my units. Let's see. He would have moved in. He would have gone this way. Vampire would have moved in over here. I should have moved in this direction towards Hunts with Wolves. So I've made a mistake by retreating too early. So now I'm going to make a run for it. He will not reload. Instead, he will just sprint. Where's my dice? Which he does manage to sprint. Giving him 4-inch movement. Right there. And then that'll end round 5 as we move on to round 6 with a new vampire. Of course, it's on that gravestone. Or not a new vampire, but a new Revenant. Right there. And then we'll just go right into it. So, Hunts with Wolves, he's going to activate. He's going to get right up in there, grab the candelabra, take a swing on that Revenant. That is a 6. I'm going to spend a power die to re-roll for a worse roll. Miss. And then the Revenant will take a swing back for an 8. Not enough. As they back up an inch. Then we move on to the monster phase. So this Revenant is going to move up. Hunts with Wolves, as with this one. Vampire will make its move this way towards him. This Revenant will get up here. And then we go on to the fighting. So this one taking a swing on. Actually, this guy will also go in. So he's surrounded by Revenants. Alright. We'll start off with this one, who has 1 fatigue. And that is an 11-12, which I think is enough. Defense, defense 13. It doesn't do it. But with the fatigue, it does. dealing 10 damage to Hunts with Wolves. How many wounds does he got? He's got 12 health. He's on 12 left, or 2 left. This is looking desperate. Alright, and then he'll take a swing back, getting a 10, which is an 11, not enough. You know what? I'll spin another power die. My last one. That is enough. Giving 4 health. 4 health left on that Revenant. And then this last Revenant will take a swing on him. That is a 10. Plus, that's 12. As, oh man. Just like that, Hunts with Wolves gets swallowed up by the swarm of revenants as the candelabra falls back into the chapel. And that is the end of the scenario. Man, what a failure. I had it in the bag and then I just got in too much danger as the revenants just swarmed in this corner. There's nothing I can do. Alright, so with that, I'll see if anybody, succumbs to their wounds. And we'll move on to scenario 3 next time. Alrighty, losing 5 casualties in that scenario. We'll start off with Private Anderson, see what happens to him. A 6, just a flesh wound. And then we got Private Hill here for an 8, just a flesh wound. And then Private Moore for a 7, another flesh wound. They managed to get off lightly. Sergeant Stark, a 2. Oh, of course it was. Let's see, episodes, nope. Permanent injury. Roll once on the permanent injury table. Alright. Let's see what happens to him. He did get in a fight with a vampire and then take a blow from a revenant. So, a 2. Leg wound. The figure suffers a -1 reduction to their speed stat. How ironic is that? If you guys didn't realize, Sergeant Stark is the model of Richard Sharp from the Sharp series, and obviously named after Ned Stark from Game of Thrones, played by the same actor, and he just received a leg wound, which he does have in the Sharp series and in Game of Thrones. So that is fitting. Alright, and with that, we go on to Hunts with Wolves, who receives a flesh wound. He will be fine. Alright, they all get off except for Ned, or not Ned, but Sergeant Stark with a flesh wound. Alright guys, thanks for watching.